Welcome to the Sheff United Way. My name is Hal. Very soon you will see the face of Nick, and it's something a bit different for you now. We are delighted to welcome Sheffield United stadium announcer Gary Sinclair. Gary, welcome. How are you?
Bonjour.
It's a good start.
Welcome to the channel, 𝗍𝗿𝗍. Stadium announcing. So how did you become the voice of Sheffield United?
My predecessor, Ian Ramsey, started the job in 1963. And in 1993, he'd wanted to sort of take a backward move. And at the time, Andy Dakin, who was commercial director, very, very good friend, he just says, Gaz, you've been the DJ. And to go back, I was a DJ, first of all, in the cricket pavilion, in the Tudor rooms. And it was not named after John Tudor. It was because all the beams were Tudor. But carrying the gear up those delightful steps was not a pleasure. But, you know, once you got in the ground, the aura just here. And then when they moved all the functions to the Platinum Suite, or the Executive Club as it was, I was the first DJ who ever worked there in 1980-81. So I opened that with the very first function. And automatically, overnight, I became the resident DJ in the Executive Suite. So I did all the functions and the Player of the Year. I've done those, the Supporters Club Player of the Year, 30-odd years, nearly 40 years. And so I was known through the club, and it was natural or very kind of Andy to ask. And he says, why don't you try? And I thought, stadium. And I'd known Ian. He immortalized, he created the phrase beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. And I thought, well, I'll never match anything like that. It's just, and I'm following in the footsteps of somebody who's been there 30 years. So I'm going to hide into nothing. But they asked me to do a Man City match. And I think it was a night match. And in those days, we had a little PA box at the back of the, what is Tony Curry stand, South Stand, the new South Stand as it's still known. And right in the middle is this little box. Supporters can look around and wonder what it was, but I kid you not, it's a cupboard. I was just told, just go and take 10 records and play them, and the microphone's there, and then just talk and enjoy. You know, there was no script, nothing other than read the teams out. And under the lights, I just thought, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, there's people actually listening. And it was just like, I was hooked. And I thought, what an amazing job, this. And I did enjoy it, I must admit. And I just went back to Dakes. I went, yeah, if you need somebody to take it, I'm good for it. And so I made sure in the 10 records was TC, You Can Do Magic, and Lynn Anderson, Rose Garden. I thought, right, I'll try and make an impression. I thought, yeah, we're in there. And that was long before CDs were, you know, on the go. We were still taking records in. So I said, yeah, I'll have some of that. And so my 30 years are now up. So I've matched Ian. And I tried to calculate using fixture lists and everything else and all the other bits. I reckon I'm up to about 680 home matches.
Wow.
John Garrett surely should know how many games you've done.
I was there when John Garrett were in nappies. Keith, you know, the club statistician should know, because I think I've missed 10 matches, because that was another thing. If ever I was off, my record, I've missed 10 matches, and in those 10 matches, we'd lost 9, and we'd never ever won when I was away. But that record's been, you know, put to bed now, thankfully. So we've got that off our back. But
I don't know about you, Hal, but like every time I don't hear Gary Sinclair's voice before the start of a game, I'm already in a bad mood.
It's the same as if the United players don't win the toss and we're not shooting towards the cop second half. I always think, oh no, it's one of them days.
I can't believe we win the toss every match. Something's going. If I was in opposition, what's the odds? It's 50-50, isn't it? You think, yeah, go on. I'm not playing ball with you. But
maybe they just
I've never worked that one out. But so yes, I proceeded to start, and then that was 93, and then I was joined for one season, and it became like a radio show handover to my very good friend Dave Kilner, bless him. And he came out of the tunnel, and I hand over, right, we're going to pitch side now with news of the team. It was, an innovation. What's the lineups, Dave? And it was like a radio link, a handover. And it worked very well. And then 97, I think, 97 playoff, Crystal Palace. Sorry for mentioning it, but it was, you got the honour of going to Wembley and announcing the pitch. And Dave had that honour because he was sort of the top of his game at Hallam and Magic. And I was so envious. And I was sat in the crowd. I was watching him doing the bit on the pitch. And I thought, and I'm in my lifetime, at those days, going to Wembley, if it was a United out, it was like unheard of. You thought, I'll never see it again in my lifetime. And lo and behold, subsequent years, God bless Dave, I've done it. I did it at Cardiff, Millennium, 2003. I've done Wembley 4 times now, I think. And it's the most amazing honour because that's your job. And, you're there as the stadium announcer and you're asked, would you like to, address your fans and announce the team on Wembley? And the first time I did it at Wembley, I tried to find the spot where Jeff Hurst banged that goal in. They think it's all over. And you want to stand on that spot and just think, I'm recreating history. And it's the most amazing feeling. And it is, as I recognise and have over the years, I'm just the luckiest fan with a microphone. And that's it. I am the fan with the mic. Yeah. And I love it. I love the team. I love the fans. I love my involvement. But with it come many privileges for which I'm grateful and blessed. And it's given me so many openings and friends and players that over the years, I mean, don't forget, I was a scrotty 11-year-old on the cop. Right in the halfway, I had 2 heroes on the cop, Shred and Tony Curry. And he always said, his name was Curry. And good old Shred, bless him. And then Tony Curry. And in later years, I can't believe he's one of my best pals. And same with Len, bless him, and Ted Emsley. And all the players of that era have become close friends. Well, most players from most seasons, you get to have a relationship with them. And it's amazing. Even some of the referees, because sometimes they come and say, are you still here? It's like, yeah. And it's had its great moments. It is just the most amazing job. And the number of people who say, I'd love to do that. Dr. Cash from Weston Park, his ambition, I mean, one of the top oncologists, and all he wanted to do was announce a goal, so I let him do it. I sat next to him one day. He said, can I announce a goal? I said, yeah. And the thrill it gave him. And I said, thank you, Cash. But he loved it. There was a player at the I won't tell the story. A player at the last match who was sat behind me, and big profile player, and he says, "Can I announce one, guys?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." I says, "You can announce the next goal." Guess who scored? An L. I went, oh. Anyway, no.
Bottled it.
I went, all right, no problem. I'll not name him, but he knows who he is. But
love that.
No, he's brilliant, and of course you get the wind ups with certain managers and gets you in bother once or twice. But
we can remember maybe one incident you might be referring to.
What would that be?
What would that be? Exactly, everything.
Well, there's been several actually. I've had.
Oh, really?
had one or two close shaves. I've upset one or two over the years. I can always remember I upset 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗃 𝗂𝐵𝐵𝐿, bless him, with my comments. Can you remember, Michael Tong was very much flavour of the month when we played Liverpool, so I announced him as the most valuable player on the pitch.
Nice.
And lo and behold, he banged the goals in, and he went to press and says, I thought that was an immature comment. I thought, well, it's just a funny throwaway comment, you know. Try and inject a bit of humour. It can't all be serious. So
it's meant to be entertaining.
I do like a bit of comedy, and it has had its moments. The best one, and it is a true. People thought I made it up. It wasn't. It was a true story, and it was in the Cherry Street car park, and there was a car. I had to announce. Would the owner of a Ford Escort parked in Bay 290 please go to Bay 190 on a white handbrake and write a note of apology onto the car that was in 190 that's now in 180.
When was that, Gary? Because I'm sure my dad's told me about that one. Is that one
honestly,
a long time ago?
It brought the place down, and it was a true story.
Yeah.
And then another one I had to announce, and I know the owner of the. Would the owner of a red Ferrari, and every bloke in pitch, I went, in your dreams. But no, that rolling down, it's the old time great. That I says, you're not going to believe this, and again, it brought uproar. But it you know, moments like that. And then the great classic announcement when we're playing our friends from S6, who we never mention. And I was going through the betting odds, and you know, United to win 3-0, 5-1, and I says, and the opposition. Let's have a look. I says opposition to win. It says SYM. I went, oh, I know what that means. Save your money. And it just, and I think it was Paul Jewell at the time. He says, "You are a wind-up merchant, you." He says, "Class to you, mate." He says, "I wish we'd got you." I says, "Oh." I says, never happened. Praise. But I says, I'll take that as small praise. But and obviously the managers, you have a great relationship with them.
Have you had a great relationship with every manager? Because there must be some that...
No.
Okay. Any that you'd like to divulge?
Some, I mean, I go back. Again, I've created a list somewhere. I think it's 23 managers in my time there, and 16 chairmen.
Wow.
And owners, and how I'm still there is a miracle. But now I didn't. The only one I never ever got to know was 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗃. He was just lovely. We just literally exchanged pleasantries and a bit hello, and that was it. I never got to know him. Didn't have a beer with him. No Peroni.
Well, he weren't there that long, really. Let's be honest.
No,
so you may have eventually had one with him.
May have eventually, but it wouldn't have been at a promotion party, I tell you.
No, fair enough.
Oops.
Fair enough. So right. You've told us there that your job is the best job in the world. We've got that already. So what is the best part of the best job in the world?
It's seeing the fans. It's sharing the moment. I mean, don't forget, it's the best part of being at the club is I'm a supporter, first and foremost. I am a supporter of the Blades. I have been all my life. I used to live on Parkfield Place, where I was brought up, which is like about a driver and a 9-iron away from Bramall Lane. And as a little scrotty kid, we used to go. That was when you could get in at half time and just literally walk all around the ground. My uncle Bob was the postman for the club, and when the Bramall Lane stand first opened, he got complimentary tickets, and I sat in there. And to this day, that is still the best view of the ground, I think. It's something to do with the rake. The view is spectacular. And it's just, for me, a fantastic stand, the Bramall Lane stand. I don't mean the lower bit, I mean the upper bit.
I agree.
And I was just hooked. And then I am a fan. So I get the pleasure, and I go to away matches, and I'm just, a normal fan. I like shouting, singing, and it has its moments. But when you walk out, and I don't know if anybody notices, when I do any announcements, I always address the Kop, because that's my background. That's where I was, indoctrinated with the love and the passion. And, when it had its old asbestos roof, whatever it was, and it's all there, the history of it. And I mean, I am 65 next year. And for 40 odd years, Sheffield United have had my life. And it is an unbelievable, I think back to it now, it's unreal. It really is. But, celebrating my retirement, I forget who we're playing then. February. But it'll be, I might get a request on the scoreboard, then again, I might not. But.
Hey, speaking of the scoreboard, Gary, I just actually have a question. I have a question about the scoreboard.
Yep.
Can we bring back the latest score flashing on screen when we know Wednesday have conceded?
I think that's a political issue. I get into so much trouble for, whoever they're playing. I'll just, Burton Albion are winning or what. I never mentioned them. It's just that's became part of the running joke. They never ever get a mention. Like when their fans come in, you're always the travelling supporters or the visiting team. The W word, I have a real speech affliction saying that word, so it never gets mentioned.
But you remember what I mean when we had score update flashing and the whole Kop and everyone going, oh.
Yeah, but this season,
you miss a whole element
to do it. It's great when they're down and out and getting pummeled every week. But I don't think this season would be the best season to do it, to be honest. So
let's bring it back. They'll fall apart.
I know, but if you really, you can't, it's just,
These things are cyclical. They'll be rubbish again. And if we have it consistently, there'll be more times when it's a joy.
Yeah, agreed. I think we again, I don't get involved now with the scoreboard. But that's Keith.
Until after this interview.
And Keith Elliott, bless him, he deserves a mention because he's been there 30 odd years. Sheffield United have amazing loyalty. They won't realise the groundsman's been there, Glenn, over 30 years. Pete in the commercial department, 28, 29 years. Judith, they're all there, and Sue Bramall. We're growing old together, really. It's like,
but it's nice.
There's no nice way of putting that, but
it's a family club.
It is, and it's like players that come. They can't let go of Sheffield United, and you can't. It's there, and past players, they keep coming back, and we keep welcoming them back with open arms because they just love it. And I can always remember Alan Hodgkinson, one of my all-time heroes. Every time he came back to the line, I used to see him at directors, and I'd go, Hodgie's in the house. Alan Hodgkinson, welcome. And he'd just stand up and give his wave. And his wife said to me, she says, do you know what? That means the world to him. And he says, Gaz, I didn't think they'd remember me. I says, Hodgie, you will be remembered forever, period, forever. And he says, well, and I said, yeah. and he will be. Yeah, and, we create our icons, but there are certain fans, certain players, you just know they're going to go down in folklore for being whatever they contributed to the club. I mean, it's like Duffy. I mean, we've just passed September 24th, one of the greatest days ever. And for me, the greatest goal I have ever seen because of what it did.
Love it.
They stopped and it killed it in a moment. And it was the most joyous thing to see. And, we should
still is
to celebrate that in foot. For me, I get asked, what's best got that? It just takes the biscuit because of the occasion. And that was just brilliant. That's a 𝗍𝗿𝗂𝐺 legend.
What other icons of kind of this era do you think will become icons of the future. I know a lot of players don't stay around for too long like they used to do, but who else? You've got Duffy on there. I'm assuming we're going to go Michael Brown as well. Any more?
I know Brownie, and I love Brownie. That goal he scored, that volley, something else. Are we talking past players or current ones who would?
I'm talking within the last kind of 10, 20 years. That's mine and Hal's sort of wheelhouse.
My mum's favourite player, Chris Morgan. I was sat next to him at Neil Warnock's do at the City Hall last week, and I wondered who I'd end up sitting next to, and it ends up with Morgs. I says, Morgs, I've got to have a photo to show my mum. Bless her, she's in a care home at the moment, but her favourite player was Morgs. She once presented him with a Man of the Match award, and he shook her hand, and I don't know if you've ever had a handshake off Morgs. You remember it for about the next 3 weeks, and she says, he's a man's man. He says, what a man. And he's like built out of granite. He's not born, he was carved, Morgs. and just an absolute top bloke. 𝗍𝐫, one of the funniest men that's ever set foot in Bramall Lane.
You must have got a 𝗍𝐫 story for us, Gary.
There's that.
He must have done something to you.
Yeah.
They went on tour once, and because this story involves, and I'm not being disrespectful here, because the man I'm talking about was my favourite person at Bramall Lane, and I'm referred to Del Boy, Derek Dooley, and they were on tour, and they were at the swimming pool, and 𝗍𝐫's swimming up the pool using Derek's artificial leg as a swimming aid. And Derek went, 𝗍𝐫, bring me leg back. And he's just so funny. He once did the comparing for the player of the season. I forget which, but he just ripped everybody to bits. But it was hilarious. And him and Michael Brown, they torment the life out of each other. But the stories, I mean, when Brownie got his new car and cabriolet, and I'm not talking like now players are turning up with, 150 grand Lamborghinis. This, I think, we're like RS Escort or something, cabriolet with open. So he left roof open, so 𝗍𝐫 filled it. We got all rubbish out of bin and just put it all through the roof. And then he glued Brownie's shoes to the dressing room floor with super glue. I think they had to carve the tile out to get shoes off. But the players, that's what you want. You need characters, and there'll be players about now. But the Bash is a legend. Agreed, Bash will be a lane legend.
Yeah, for
loyalty, for his performances. Love Bash. Billy obviously goes without saying. And again, I've known Billy from being young. We played golf with him when he was 18. And you see these players, and it's just fantastic to get involved with them. It's special. And other players, and this year, and I mark my words, I'm not giving it kiss of death here. This is our year, because you see it, and you see the players and the bond between them. And I sit where I sit. I've got all the injured players. I've got an 11 sat behind me. But you see it in their passion, even when they're not playing, and they're shouting and shouting tactics and going and cheering like along with all the other. There is such a camaraderie and a bond that 𝗍𝐾's recreated. It is fantastic to watch. The football is off the charts, and to everybody, and it will be to everybody's surprise, we've kept key players, and hands together, softly so, we do keep them, because they're the lads that will take us up this year. I've not seen any team that's even troubled us. And I will be gobsmacked if we don't go automatic this year. It would be the icing on the cake, because some of the football, Reading come, Blackburn come. Oh, the top at league. No, you're not now anymore.
Yeah,
you need to that is pretty nice. And the fans, this is what they've got to understand. The noise they create, the intimidation, it is. We missed that in pandemic. The pandemic was the worst part of my time at Bramall Lane because it was so surreal. I didn't expect to be working through that because obviously you think, well, first of all, there's going to be no football. And when they said, oh, we're going to start it again, and you think, oh, right. And yeah, but there's going to be no crowd. Well, what do you need me for? Well, everything's got to be as normal for the TV and the substitutes have got to be, the teams have got to be read out because we want it to be as normal as it could be. And when I'm stood there and I'm making the announcements to 200 people in a stadium, it was just unreal. And of course, we're having to do all the COVID tests before we even got anywhere near the ground. And to watch it, and it was just sterile. The atmosphere, well, there was none. Apart from, I think, a couple of matches where all the junior squad and all the staff that were allowed in suddenly made quite a racket in one match, and we did do well. But it was just a horrible time. It was really weird. We did Tottenham, didn't we? Chelsea and Wolves on the bounce, and again, fantastic time. Chris, one of my all-time favourite managers. There's sort of, you'll ask the obvious question: who's your favourite manager?
We were going to ask that. I think we could guess, but what would you say is like your top three? You don't have to put them in order.
𝗍𝗍𝗂𝐺 𝗂𝗃𝐺.
Yeah,
John Carver.
He's 1 and 2.
John Carver.
Yeah. The top three in no particular order. Sound like Chris, Harry,
obviously. Yeah, I think we'd have guessed that.
And for all different reasons. I mean, Neil, I was invited to his do last week, which was a bit of a laugh. And it was wonderful to see him and all his family because I did Neil Warnock's 60th birthday. I was a DJ for Neil's 60th birthday in Scotland at Loch Lomond, a castle and overlooking Loch. Unbelievable gig. And it was, I got asked to stay for New Year's Eve, and I did, and I had the most fantastic time. And I've done his son's wedding, did James' wedding, and Amy and Will, I've known them since, obviously, they were first brought to Bramall Lane. And then I was honoured. Neil invited me down to do his 10th wedding anniversary, which I think it was either sack or survival, and it was sack. I said, all right, we'll celebrate my wedding anniversary as well. And I went down to his house in Devon, and he's got a lovely little 9-hole golf course on the back of it. So I stayed, and next day, are you going to have a knock, Gaz, before you go back? I said, I haven't got any clubs. He says, well, there's space. I said, yeah, but I'm a lefty. Ah, right, that's a problem. He says, I've got a right-handed 9-iron. I said, yeah, we've got to have a swing with that. So I stood up first tee, cack-handed, right hand, 120 yard, this par thing. All in one.
Oh,
wow.
And William is young, about 5 or 6 at the time, I think. I says, William, just have a run down and see if there's a ball in that. Anyway, run it up. And he's here. I says, ooh. I just turn around to Gaffer. I said, get that all-in-one board made. I says, I want my name first on it. And I says, I can't believe I play golf all my life and first all-in-one I get. I'm cack-handed.
You've got to stop there. It's not a mic drop.
Retire.
It's the 9-iron drop.
It was the moment. And then Chris, I go back years with Chris. And I love the man dearly. Fabulous to me. Very kind and gracious. We only had the one run-in.
What happened in the run-in?
This is the half time, isn't it? Go on, you tell it.
Unfortunately, who would have thought one word would get you into so much trouble? But that was the infamous Villa match. And I don't regret anything I said that day, because I think, again, as the fan with the microphone, I spoke for 28,000 fans that day, because come half time, we'd seen the best 45 minutes football I think we'd seen in many a light year.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
And I don't know why I came out with it. I just went, held the board up 2 minutes, and I just blurted out, unfortunately, there's only 2 minutes left of this half. And I meant that as the ultimate compliment to the team and paying homage to the football. And I didn't think anything of it. And suddenly I get a text. It's like, beep, beep. Gaff wants to see you at full time in his office. Look, and he's not happy. I went, oh, I'm just giving you a heads up. So, end of the match. I'm like, sat there. I thought, well, I waited. I thought, I'm not here for Peroni. That's a fact. and then he come in and says, I've just had to apologise for guys. He says, I love you. I love you. I love you. I've always loved you guys. But why did you say that comment? I says, what comment? He says, that word. I says, well, unfortunately, yeah, there were only 2 minutes left at half. I says, I could have watched that for the next 3 months. I says, I didn't want it to end, and 28,000 fans didn't. I said, they thought it was funny. I've had to apologise to Steve Bruce. I says, why? I says, we don't owe him anything. I says, of all managers. And I just says, why? He says, no. And I thought, well, okay. I never thought no more of it. So what happened was, at full time, he'd gone to do a press conference, and yeah, they were all talking about the fantastic goals, through balls, and long range shots, and all that were forgot when this Birmingham news reporters, what do you think about your cheeky announcer? And he went, and Chris just went, it won't happen again. I've apologised. Well, that made the news. You know, he'd apologise to, you know what press are like, they'll jump on anything. And it was a throw. So next day, every paper, Wilder's apology to, and it cost me about 27 quid in Sunday papers next day for my mum for scrapbook. But it was, it was all, Chris, we have a beer and laugh about it. And that's it. It's over and done with. That's it with Chris. But brilliant. And again, he's still a close friend. He'll always be a friend. I can never understand any fans who have a go at him because of how he turned our club around at a time it needed it. And he'll always be special to me, regardless. And I love his mum as well, Joan. Hi, Joan. And his wife, Fran. Hi, Fran.
We wouldn't have the players. We wouldn't have had the success. No. We wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for Chris. The amount of managers that couldn't get us promoted or most of them couldn't get anywhere near promoted to the Championship. So he's given us our club back.
Made a mistake. It doesn't happen. And Chris will know. And on reflection, we'd all like to do things certainly different. And there's certain things I'm sure he'd change. But it was sad what ended and how it ended because he didn't deserve that. And maybe one day the whole story will come out. But it was a sad period in Sheffield United's history because so much was, I felt, unachieved. It only got to base camp on the mountain. He could have been another John Harris, in my opinion, and stayed for donkey's years. But, is football like that anymore?
You never know. There's still time. There's still time, Gary. It might happen in the future.
Harry Bassett, a legend. Because, again, I go back to, I was the DJ and all the Christmas... We had a Christmas party. Can you remember that? When we started the season in August, we had a Christmas party. So I was dressed up in Santa gear and everything and playing Christmas records in middle of bloody August. And you think, this man's nuts. But it worked. And then, obviously, the season before, because we'd gone all those matches until we beat Forest in December, we had a dinner at the end of the year. And I presented Harry. I had a painting made, The Great Escape, and it was Harry in front of 𝗍𝗿𝗿𝗃 and Sheff, tunneling through, and we got past all these teams, and all the team flags were on the ground, and he's tunneling past them. And it was just a daft idea. And he'll still have it somewhere in his house. But it was just a brilliant thing, because we had Tony Christie, I think, was the cabaret. I'd booked him as well at the Moat House. Another
Fabulous.
great Blade's favourite place. So many memories up there as well. I will write a book one day, but I've got to find a good lawyer first.
Fantastic. So let's move on to the Sheffield United legendary matches. So what is your favourite match from your vantage point?
From I was going to say I've got two favourite matches. From my vantage point, it's a totally different answer to what's my favourite match. My favourite match was Darlington away.
Yeah.
Hence that shirt.
It was just something else. And then we had a little party in the Royal Oak on Cemetery Road afterwards. That were a cracker. But from my vantage point, the greatest match ever, and another legend, 𝗍𝗿𝗄𝐺. Oh my God.
I knew it as well.
That were another match that got me telling off.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Des Walker.
Because it does.
Des Walker! The greatest non-blade ever to get announced in Raptures at the Lane's history.
Because you'll never beat Des Walker, will you?
You'll
never beat him.
You'll never beat Des Walker, but you'll never beat that own goal.
No,
That was something. And again, that was just sheer joy. Mike Oaten, scorer for the play, number 4, Des Walker. And it's on that. Can you remember all the DVDs, the double assault and all that?
Had all of that.
Clear as day. And then, one of the directors came up to me after the match. And he says, Gary, that is the most infantile, stupidest comment I've ever heard. I've had to apologise to the entire Nottingham Forest board. And at that same moment, Kevin McCabe walked past me. He went, Gaz, I've never stopped laughing. Absolute genius. Absolute So I just looked at this guy. I went, can't win them all, can you? And Kevin, I love Kevin. I'll openly go on record. Great. Always great to me. And that's me. I'm straight John Ball, but I have no grievance with Kevin or anybody, I don't think there's anybody I would say I dislike. I've made so many lifelong special friends. Mick Rooker deserves a mention because his part in Sheffield United's history, I thought, went unrecognised, because what that man did for supporters, not only at the club, in his role in the promotions office, but all the other things, helping families, he went above and beyond. And that man is a legend of the office type, not a player. He is a legend in what I call Sheffield United's tapestry, an unsung hero of the highest order, and one of my best pals, and I love him dearly. Another one.
Well,
and Derek Dooley, I've mentioned, the greatest man to step foot in the Lane, bar none. Absolute legend. And again, going back to Mick Rooker, 𝗍𝗿𝗿𝗃's gift was communication and humbleness. And his office at the Lane was open to anybody, whether it was Peggy who was in charge of the laundry, or Derek Newbold who wanted, a new chamois leather for the windows, whatever it was, you went to see 𝗍𝗿𝗿𝗃. And when I worked there, me and Nate Ropes, they had a little Monday morning session and cup of tea, always a cup of tea. And he'd say to Ropes, go and get me a cuppa. And I don't want none of that rubbish from vending machine. I want a proper cup of tea. So Ropes used to go downstairs, get a vending machine, get a cuppa, and pour it into a china cup. That's what I call a proper cup of tea, that. Bless him to this day. He never knew. But what a wonderful, wonderful man. And if Sheffield United have any lessons to learn, it's he's never been replaced, Derek, in my opinion. And he was a football man, so well respected by every boardroom. No matter where he went, Derek was a legend and held in the highest esteem. And that got a foot in the door with all sorts of things. And I think we need that person. I was rather hoping it'd be like Harry Bassett or somebody who we need, that granddad, if you like, who's got that connection and who knows the players and who knows the fan. And he was just wonderful at that. And for me, my all-time favourite. So.
That feels like a perfect place, Gary, to end it, because you've spoken so well about so many wonderful people, and Derek Dooley, I mean, hard to top. So we will thank you for your tremendously generous time that you've given us here on Sheffield United Way.
It's my honour. It is my honour. And can I share a little secret with you? I was going to reveal this. You are the first to hear it, because again, I am blessed in my life. I just come. I'm very, very lucky, and I've been blessed with many things. But I was going to announce this at the Rotherham match, but it got postponed due to the circumstances. God save the King. But the Rotherham match should have been a massive fundraiser for Western Park Cancer Charity, with whom I am very, very closely involved, and I have been for years. And Maggie Mays has donated over £30,000 to the charity over the years, and I do numerous functions and compare work or whatever I can do for them, actually. So I got the letter the other week. I'm absolutely honoured. I've been asked to be a patron of Western Park Cancer Charity. So you're the first to hear it. It's not been announced yet. There'll be an official press report sometime later this week. But I am honoured beyond belief to have that accolade in recognition for what I've done for them. And again, I know it's one of Sheffield United's favourite charities, and I can't speak highly enough of that work. That it's in our town. It's our cancer hospital. So I'm proud to now be a patron. So there's your little scoop.
Well, we're honoured for you to share that.
That is how you end the show.
Yes.
Yeah, that is absolutely. Thank you, Gary Sinclair. Wonderful to speak to you.
It's been my pleasure, boys.